it's a data warehouse tool, especially you can call it as ETL tool. So as you know, ETL stands for extraction, transformation, and load. Okay, so I'll just give you some basic definition of that. So extraction, transformation, and load, right? That is what ETL. So what is exactly ETL and what we do on a day-to-day basis, right? So whenever, for example, we are running a business, let's say retail industry or healthcare or banking, right? So end of the day, what we have to do, we have to do some kind of analysis on the data to, grow your business or to do some strategic decisions on your business. So how can I take a strategic decision on the business without knowing the information on the business, how actually it's going on? For example, if you are a manager of one of your area like finance or marketing or sales, so what exactly you wanted to know is like, for example, if you wanted to order a new inventory in your store, like you have to see some kind of statistics of your existing goods or products, how it is doing from last 5 years or last 10 years, right? So in that case, what I can do is I can have a set of data, aggregated data in the form of a table kind of stuff in the background, so that I can use some connection tools like reporting tools where I can see the data. For example, if I say product ID, product name, percentage of profit last year, and percentage of sale, okay, and then net margin. Let's say some product, let's say Nikon camera, okay, you have the percentage of profit in the last year 34% and 23.5% sales, and net margin is 15%. I'm just giving you rough figures. So by seeing some kind of data in this, like the time period is like around 1 year or last 2 years, you see these figures. So basically what I'm saying is uh, let's say 24 months. So by seeing these kind of information in the data warehouse, so you see you can actually take some a step on adding a new inventory to your existing store, so that if it is actually performing poor, you can actually think of ordering a new inventory. All right. So that is what the data warehouse exactly means, right? So any data that is validated for your business needs, and based on this data you can take some strategic decision. So as most of the scientists define data warehouse is a subject-oriented, integrated, uh, non-volatile data which can be used for strategic decision or decision-making process. That is what the definition of data warehouse theoretically. So whatever I explained is like subject-oriented in the sense, or any portfolio like marketing, sales, IT, or any subject-related stuff, we can actually split the data into different parts. That is what subject-oriented. And integrated is nothing but we can collect the data from various source systems, and we can club the data into a single database or data warehouse. And then non-volatile data. So once the data is loaded in data warehouse, normally we don't delete the data into the tables, because that is non-volatile. Whatever is there, it will be like loaded and updated according to the changes that happen onto the product or concerned you know claim information or anything, whatever it may be. So the data related ideas here, right? So this is what the background of an ETL, and I mean this is like a data warehouse definition, you can say. And why ETL comes into picture here, like we need to analyze the data. Until unless it's there in the database, we cannot actually analyze by just taking the dump into the database directly. Then why we need ETL process, right? That is what our main question. So here the main thing is extraction is nothing but for example, you got a data in the form of Excel sheet or fact file, okay, or a database object or a table kind of stuff. So all this format of data can be valid and can be loaded into database, right? So how we need to extract this data? So we need to have some tool which can read the data from these source systems, right? So in this case, we use any ETL tool like Informatica. There are different tools in market. Okay, Informatica, Initio, data stage, blah blah blah. But Informatica is quite famous because it has very expanded features in terms of handling these ETL processes compared to other ETL tools. Okay, it can be compatible with any databases or any source systems, mainframes, COBOL files, any file. It can read the data and load the data into any target database, whether it's a source file or Teradata or Oracle or SQL Server, DB2, Sybase, doesn't matter. So that is what the extraction means. It will read the data from the source file. And what transformation does? So as the name saying that transformation is nothing but changing from one form to another form. Right? That is what the transformation means. Actually, if you give a definition of a transformation, right? So here, in this case, what happens is, let's say I have a source file and I get the company name as ABC Limited in one source system, another source system for the same company. I say ABC Corp Limited and ABC Corporation Limited and ABC. I'm getting from different source systems for the same company information by the end of the day. So let's say I have different vendors. Let's say myself is a Walmart client. So I have different vendors spread across the locations. So by the end of the day, they send the data to me with different file sets. So in that name, let's say company name is ABC Limited, ABC Corp, all are same. But as per their naming convention, they enter something into the data file and send it to us. So at the end of the day, while loading the data into a data warehouse or database, we have to load this form into a unique representation. So I wanted to say ABC Corporation Limited. I wanted to spread one name for any of this ID with respect to this company. So all four I should see like this, any irrespective of the any coding conventions. So in this case, I can actually transform this data by using some logic into an ETL tool. Let's say Informatica tool, right? If I say that Informatica tool can handle this by using I'll tell you, don't worry about this coding and all. I'm just giving a rough example. So we are using a decode code here. So whenever I say decode ABC Limited, I wanted to put ABC Corporation Limited, right? So this is an example of a transformation. So in this case, what I'm doing is whatever I'm coming from the data, I'm actually converting into ABC Corporation Limited. If it is coming like ABC Limited, something like if it is ABC Corp Limited, then I wanted to put ABC Corporation Limited. So something like this. So this is the way that we actually transform the data. Okay, this is called transformation. Clear? Any questions so far, Soumya and Mustafa?
No.
Okay, so once we transform the data, we have to load into the target database, right? The target database is nothing but your data warehouse. So in this database, what happens is we load the history of data and we load huge information into the data warehouse because it might be an incremental data. So every month you might need to load the same file with different customer information, right? So in that case, we actually keep a job which will load the file continuously for each month whenever the source file comes in. So it will load the data into the target files, into the target database. That is called data warehouse. So in traditionally, our database systems are categorized into two things, OLTP and OLAP systems. So you might have heard of this terminology like online transaction processing and online analytical processing. So whenever I say online transaction is typically a normal databases that you see in operational databases on a day-to-day basis. For example, if you go to a bank, you might need to update your bank address or deposit some amount. All these transactions are done day-to-day basis, right? So these transactions should be coming under OLTP model, and OLTP is actually will not have much capacity to handle huge information. So we will not have history data for 10 years, 5 years, into the OLTP systems. Okay, so OLTP is typically for a day-to-day transaction activity. And OLAP system is nothing but analytical data processing. So analytical, as the name says, So we need analytical data to define something or to take some decisions based on the data. So OLAP model, when it comes to OLAP, that is what the data warehouse comes into picture. So data warehouse is also a database. Don't confuse with database and data warehouse. Data warehouse is nothing but a bigger database. Okay, with some normalization techniques over there. We'll talk about that in detail. So in data warehouse, it's like another database, but the biggest database compared to normal OLTP systems, which can handle huge information and years of information into that systems. Okay, so this is an overall idea about ETL process. So loading the data, like once the transformation is done, we load all the records into your data warehouse. So Informatica fits in this ETL process. So in data warehouse lifecycle, if you say, the lifecycle starts from source system, okay, transformation and loading the data and reporting layer and analysis and decision. This is the cycle of data warehouse. So any data can be loaded into it by using the transformation into a data warehouse and a reporting layer on top of that, which will actually handle this information that is from the database. And based on that, we do the analysis like business analyst or your managers, IT CEOs, anyone can be related to the business. So they will do analysis on this and they will take the decision to take the next steps. So this is the cycle of a data warehouse, right? So your ETL fits in this part, that Informatica, right? And then from here we have different tools in reporting like business objects, Cognos, SSRS, a lot of tools are there. And analysis basically done by your business analyst or a system analyst or your business users, and then based on that they will take some decisions to handle the business, right? This is the cycle. And why we say ETL is hot in the market? Because in the current trends, right? So today's going market, so we need to have obviously the toughest information on the business to handle such cases, because without this data, right, we cannot actually compete with other vendors or other companies, right? That is what the main purpose of data warehouse. So that's why any industry, let's take healthcare or banking or retail industries, something like this. If you take any company, most of the things deals with the data end of the day. So it doesn't matter what are the data might be, we need to have the data analyzed for the sake of business. So that's why ETL plays a critical role in every business. That,
So,
that is the reason it's an ever growing demand. Okay. So
I have a
yeah.
question. Does Informatica house a database its own, or is it being connected to an external database already?
Informatica is just a vendor. I mean, it's a tool which can be act as a mediator between your source and target, but it won't actually handle any database on its own. We have to connect to the external databases like Oracle or Teradata or SQL Server to store the data. And Informatica will have that flexibility to connect to those tools. Okay, Informatica can provide that adapters, the data drivers, inbuilt drivers to connect to any database. So it's like a plug-in-play model. We don't need to build any kind of software again. It's like a tool ready with all the compatibility products in between. So if you wanted to connect to any database, you can connect to Informatica itself and load the data. It's like a just interface to do something between your source and target, but it will not actually store any data. But the structure of mapping and a workflow, we'll talk about those components. The mapping and workflows will be stored in the form of metadata repository. So metadata is nothing but a data about data, which will hold the structure of the information, like how your mapping and workflows, but not actually the data. Okay, that is very important. So Informatica doesn't store any data; it will only store the logical uh, mapping components, like what is your source column name, source data type, and all the structure of your mappings. This information will be stored in Informatica. So Informatica from the backend, if you see, it's a C++ code developed by the scientist, and all the information metadata stored in the form of tables. So doesn't store any physical data as in like the raw data from the business. All right. Does that answer your question, Mustafa?
Yeah, and other thing is the reporting part. So is that to a external entity we have to use?
Pardon me, there's some disturbance actually from the background.
So
Yeah.
for so loading, you said that we have to use an external database like Oracle or SQL. But
Mm-hmm.
for the reporting purposes, do we have to use these SSRS or crystal reports, anything like that?
Yeah, reporting is also not done in Informatica. We have to use business objects or crystal reports, whatever the database is connected. So we can actually report using the reporting layer. We can build the reports. It's not from Informatica. Informatica just a, typically an ETL tool which does the loading of the data. So with the transformation. So what are the business rules that is applicable? That will be all the business rules will be handled in Informatica layer. The reporting layer will be like pulling the data and showing it to the front end systems. And there you can say some formatting of the data and all, but actual loading will be taken care by the ETL processes.
Okay.
Right, so that is about the ETL system. So if you see the architecture of here, the Informatica architecture, if I say, so here there are OLTP systems and flat files, XML, global, flat file. This is the source, and we extract the data and we standardize. Standardize in the sense we eliminate any kind of data issues with respect to the formatting, spaces or any kind of gen data. We clean the data first before loading into the staging layer. Staging layer is nothing but another database for temporary purpose to load the data and transform the data, and finally we are loading into the target data tables. This is where your data warehouse, and after that it will be like your reporting systems. Okay, this is how the ETL process, whatever we discussed, if you understand whatever we discussed till now, that explains in this diagram the same way. Okay, so whatever we discussed till now, the ETL process, it's like a pictorial representation. Clear? And so, I mean, you might have heard of data warehouse and data marts, right? So data warehouse is like a combination of all the subject areas within an industry. So, for example, if you say any data warehouse with respect to retail industry like products, sales, customer, finance, all these are like data marts. Data marts in the sense, I mean, these are the different subject areas, you can say. These subject areas will be loaded into the data warehouse completely. Like we can take the data from different subject areas by actually have the relationship between the tables, right? So obviously, if you define a table, we have a primary key and foreign key relationship. Similarly, any table from the subject area will be identified together, and we load the data from various subject areas by taking the tables. Okay, so uh, as we told about OLTP and OLAP, OLTP is like an online transaction processing, and OLAP is like online analytical processing. Right? That's what we discussed about. So here the same thing with the comparison, like how we go for OLTP and OLAP. Like whenever it's a small volume, we go for OLTP, and it's a bigger volume, we can actually go for OLAP systems. So I will not I will not go into the deeper of data warehouse now. So we'll talk about the data warehouse architecture once we actually start the course. So we have a very detailed explanation of what is a dimension, what is a fact load, how to load the table, what is the theoretical definition. So we'll not go into the detail of data warehouse right now. So I just want to present the architecture of data warehouse. All right. And this is also the similar way like whatever we saw earlier slides. This is just an elaboration to that. So we have different data sources, and and ETL software will do all your staging area processing, extraction, and then load. Your Informatica will be useful here and to load to different databases like Teradata, I mean data marts, we can say finance, marketing, sales. We load the data into different data marts or a data warehouse. And finally, the reporting like analysis managers, executives, different operational personnel can actually access your data from your data warehouse. Right, this is your data warehouse architecture. Okay, so any questions on this architecture point of view? Soumya, you clear?
Yeah.
Safa?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah. So data warehouse terminology, all this data that actually divide into like dimension and facts. We'll talk about in detail later. What is a dimension? What is a fact? So dimension is nothing but an attribution information. For example, if you take a customer name, customer address, customer phone number, all these are called dimensions. Dimension is nothing but to give you some attribution information, and fact is nothing but a measurable value. Basically what you say profits, like the number of claims submitted, or revenue generated, all these figures which we'll talk about in numbers, those are called fact tables. So in data warehouse, all we are talking about dimensions and facts. Whatever the data that we load it from different dimension tables and load it to a single fact table. That is what the data warehouse cycle is defined. So basically, we get different data from customer information and product information, and all this data can be loaded into a single table by using your schemas like star schema and snowflake schema. So there are some schemas defined in data warehouse how to load the data. So I can just give an overview of about star schema and snowflake schema. The star schema is basically talking about different dimension tables and loading into a single fact table. For example, here date, dimension, store, and product. I'm actually having the relationship between each table with respect to primary key, and finally I'm taking number of units sold for a particular department. So units sold is actually a fact which we'll talk about in numbers, right? So this is what your star schema. Star schema in the sense which will represent a star. We can actually connect to multiple dimension tables to a single fact table. So this actually, these schemas are famous in data warehouse. They will just give you the way of representation of loading your tables. That's it. So there can be many of your dimension tables can be loaded into a single fact table. So this dimension modeling or data modeling will be done by your data architects. So as an ETL developer, you don't need to worry about the data model and how the tables are defined. So that is actually out of our scope as a developer. So once the tables are ready, so they'll give you a source and target table directly to you. I mean, they'll give you that n table data warehouse table. So this is what the table you have to load, something like this. So we don't need to create a data model from an ETL development perspective. Okay, so that will be taken care by your data architects or data modelers. So don't worry about the complexity here. We are not doing anything on the data modeling as an ETL developer. Okay. So Informatica is very easy tool. Once you practice all the transformation, the basics of tool, you can actually, do any kind of logic with respect to Informatica. So this is a complete theoretical picture. Whatever I'm giving in the data warehouse, you can actually go through slides and get the concept. It's very clearly written each and every definition. That's not a problem, because whenever you attend for Informatica interviews, they will actually touch the data warehouse concepts as well. What is star schema? What is a dimension? What is a fact? Something like that, right? So because all your ETL tools is basically defined on your data warehouse technology, right? So basically everything is roaming around the data warehouse, right? That's why you should have the fundamentals of data warehouse before actually learning any ETL tool. So what we do is before actually going to the actual tool, we'll take one or two stations in the data warehouse to completely undergo the theoretical part of data warehouse, right? So coming to the Informatica tool now. So this is how the tool looks like. Okay, the Power Center Designer. We say Informatica tool is currently we are using 9.0 1 version for our demo purpose, and we have 9.6 also, which is being currently used in the version some clients, and some still they're using 9.1 version. So any tool which is recently of version 9.x, we can say, right? So this is the tool, and we call it as a power center components. So we are actually learning Informatica Power Center. Okay, there are other tools also in Informatica like MDM and all. That is out of scope here as part of the course. It's really Power Center Designer. So here there are 4 components: Repository Manager, Power Center Designer, Workflow Manager, and Workflow Monitor. Okay, so in this Informatica tool, we use different tool for different purposes. So we give you the software for loading the, for your practice purposes, and you can actually install laptops to run the software so that you can actually practice on each session. And this is like an hands-on session. It's not a theoretical session. Once we complete the data warehouse slides, we'll be going with the practical sessions on Informatica from the class as soon as possible, right? And we give you some exercises to do some practice on the mapping, how to create a mapping and all. So anyone can learn the any other business analysis or anything. You can actually what do you say, pre-configured tool, like whatever is there in the tool itself. We don't need to explicitly code anything to work such a way. You should know the functionality of any transformation, how to make it work. That's it. Because at the end of the day, all your programming will be taken care of backend from the Informatica. So if you write an expression transformation or aggregation transformation, the aggregation will be happen at the background. We just need to select what is the column that you want to aggregate. That's it from the front end system, and the actual processing will be happening at the back end of Informatica tool once it is processing. All right. So the processing can be seen at your workflow monitor. So workflow monitor is basically to see the data loads, and workflow manager is basically to configure the workflow and load the data. And designer is actually your component which will be useful to create your mapping. So mapping is nothing but between a source and target, whatever the transformation that you use as an ETL tool, I told you, right? So mapping is nothing but you have to import source and using some transformations and then finally load into the target. This is what your mapping says. Okay, and in this transformation we have different transformations in Informatica. So I'll just show you as part of course content what are the transformations that we are going to cover. And workflow manager is nothing but once we create a mapping, we can actually load the data by using the workflow manager. And workflow monitor is nothing but to see the job progress, right? This is the tools, and R stands for repository manager. As it told, repository managing is nothing but to manage your workflows and folders, to create a new folder. All your admin stuff will be coming under repository manager, right? So these are the 4 components that we wanted to work on. In real time, if you know all these 4 along with the database, that would be helpful to start with your ETL processing developer, right? So we are using a database called Oracle here for our demo purposes. This is the database. So we'll provide you the database link as well. So that actually you can write some queries. Okay, this is the database in the web version. All right. So we can write some SQLs here in the database here itself in the SQL prompt, right? Just let me just show you how the data works here. I mean, because we are using the Oracle as a backend for your Informatica tool here. So we'll be giving you this software along with the Informatica tool, which will be actually loading your data into the systems. So for example, if I'm writing select staff from employees table, right? So if I select this query and run, you can actually see the data, right? This is the database that we store the tabular format. So we can use some actually tools called Tor or something like this to use in the actual client version. but actually you can write your queries on the desktop version as well, like this, like a browser version. So this is more or less same. So whatever we load to Informatica, we can actually see in the table format at the end of your transformations, right? That is what you do in the Informatica tool. So after your transformation, you load your data into the target tables. Okay. So this is the database that we need, Oracle and Informatica tool. Those are the two requirements for your ETL operations to do. So basically Informatica along with the database. So that is the tool overview, okay, the softwares that we are going to work. Any questions on this?
No.
Mustafa?
I'm good.
And coming to the course content, right? So this is the course content that we're going to cover as part of Informatica training. So basically it's a 20-hour session, okay? So we'll be taking each session here, like the examples, what actually we cover as part of the course. Data warehouse concepts initially, all the RDBMS concepts and the tool overview, like the repository in detail, like designer, repository manager, workflow manager, monitor, all your data warehouse concepts for the initial sessions. And once we familiar with the data warehouse concepts, we'll go with the Informatica concepts and overview. What is a source, what is a target qualifier, transformation overview, mappings, workflows, sessions, tasks. So all these things will be covered in the second session. And third, with like various common transformations, what are the different transformations that we have in Informatica? So expression generator, filter, joiner, sorter, router, aggregator, and what are the transformations that we majorly use in real time. So we talk about those transformations in detail with each transformation in example mode, so that you know how to work on the transformation. And there are some advanced transformation like lookup, store procedure, update strategy, transaction control, and XML. So this is very advanced. So once we know the basic transformation, we go for the advanced transformations. So each transformation has its own specialty to work with the tables or data. So we'll come to know how actually they plays a major role in the real-time environments. Basically, if you know all these transformations, that is enough actually to work on Informatica. Because if you know the functionality of each transformation, how it actually turns the data or changes the data, that should be good. And after transformation coverage, we'll go with the advanced concepts like this is what real-time scenarios comes in, like troubleshooting the mappings or session parameterization and automation, like different types of batch processing, how the data loads will happen in real time, okay, how the target load plan will work. We'll go with the advanced concepts once we are familiar with the basic transformations. And then we'll go with the best practices of how to code in Informatica, what is the best way of doing it, and best practices, coding standards, how to improve the performance of your workflows, and case studies with the real-time examples, right? So this real-time examples is basically coming from a project scenarios, like how it happens in the real-time environment. And finally, your interview question helps resume preparation and your SQL and Unix commands overview also as part of this course. So as part of this course, the prerequisite is you should know at least a basic SQL stuff. So anyways, we'll be covering through the SQL, that is not a problem. So the SQL is the basic essence of any ETL tool, okay? So end of the day, we load the data and we retrieve the data. Everything is data, right? So in the tables, if the data means you should know how to read the data with the help of SQL, how to manipulate the data, and how to load. So all these things can be done with SQL. So the prerequisite for Informatica is your SQL commands. But in case if you find, we'll be covering as part of our course. We are actually working on the tables and all. You will be coming to know what are the types of SQL that we use. Okay, different type of SQL commands and joins and all. We'll be talking about along with your Informatica course, right? So this is the course content. So any questions on the course content?
So how do we have a hands-on experience? Like, do you provide the tool, access, and everything, or?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? The software will be provided and will be installing on your laptop. So whatever we are doing in the classroom, the sessions, the practical sessions, the same can be work on your laptops from you parallelly, right? Once the class is complete, we can actually practice on the tool that is installed on your laptops. We'll be providing you the software, Informatica Oracle, right? So you can actually install on your laptop. We'll help you to install because Informatica is not a straightforward installation. We have to do some stuff over there. So we'll guide you how to install the software. So once you register for this course, we can provide you the software and we can actually help you to install the software on your laptops so that you can actually have a hands-on practice on the tool. So not only in the classroom that actually I told, but also like you can actually do the practice at your own stuff, right? So that is what the course is. This course is basically intended for the audience who can actually learn, from your own systems after the class, right? Yeah, that clear, Mustafa?
Yes, yes.
And Soumya, any questions on the course content, on the software or the tool? So you had some questions, right, in the
Yes,
initial
yes.
class?
I had
Yeah.
some questions. Like right now, I'm from a QA background.
Okay.
But I do know a lot of some of SQL and Oracle.
Uh-huh.
So can I manage with the course? Like, can I?
Yeah, that's what I told you. So this is like anyone who can actually start, freshly. There is no hard and fast rule that we should be from a developer background because most of the students I teach, they're from different, in fact, they're students as well. Okay, so they're from different backgrounds. So only thing is, you should know the functionality of a tool and the concepts over it. Okay, if you had a good understanding on the data warehouse concepts and ETL processes, Informatica is just a tool to do such kind of stuff, right? So obviously the tool you can actually practice on your own. The more you practice, you'll get the hands-on experience on the tool, right? So it's not a very difficult thing. Only thing is you have to practice at your own time to get comfortable with the tool. So as soon as you work on the project, right, they will be giving you a tool with software. So you shouldn't, surprise with the tool because you should know each and functionality of the tool, right? That is what the tool means. So that is will be possible, after you practice. But I'm sure that anyone can learn this tool with our, experienced way of teaching. That is not a problem. So we
Okay.
actually keep in mind that everyone is like a fresher in the kind of classroom, though they have a different backgrounds in IT. We don't teach in that way that they're experienced and they know each and everything of informatics. All right. So this is
Okay.
true respect to everyone, irrespective of your background of your technologies. So we teach like more than 7 or 8 years in other backgrounds, and they still learn Informatica as a fresher because obviously they don't know about anything about the tool, right? That is what you should start with your layman knowledge, and then you can actually progress on that. That is what the way of learning, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's absolutely fine, doesn't matter. So only thing is the more dedication from your end is expected out of this course of any student basically. So once after the classroom will provide you the video recordings, right? So based on the videos, you can actually go through them and practice it thoroughly because the video is nothing but contents of my audio and the screen sharing. Both will be there in that video. You can actually still go through, if you don't understand that particular classroom session, you can still go through the recording and try to grab it. Otherwise, in case you're not able to understand anything, you can actually ask in the classroom in the next day so that you can actually familiar with the missing concepts. That is what the whole idea about this training. This is like interactive basis as Nitin told. So we should be like more talking together, because it's not only me only talking all the time. So you have to raise your questions and speak up whenever you're in doubt. Okay, otherwise I never know that you have a doubt, right? So that should be the case. Only thing is a little dedication is required until the course completion is done, and we need students to be sincere and punctual on the classroom trainings, and at least a dedication required from the student perspective as well, in order to be succeeded as a student from you and as a teacher from my side.
Yes, and
Yeah.
adding on top of this, first of all, thanks Rajesh for this wonderful introduction about Informatica. And just to add few points here, Soumya and Mustafa, like we'll be providing you the student dashboard where you have the full training material as well as the recordings which Rajesh mentioned. This will be you'll be able to access it through our portal. We'll create a unique login ID for you guys if you enroll for the regular batch. Apart from that, coming to the second part, that will also assist you because you guys are in USA. So we have our placement assistance feature also. Will assist you in finding a suitable jobs if at all you are looking for a change in your career or in terms of that perspective. That placement assistant feature is totally free, which comes along with this training because this is an introductory courses or introductory discounts which we are applying as of now. So if you want to pursue your career in Informatica, definitely we can market your profile, and we can also help you in resume building, and we can forward your resume to our network of consultancies, and if anything comes up we can also help you in the placement assistance. So that is the added advantage or one of the one of the unique feature which is provided into this instructor led training program. So I think most of the Rajesh, we are done from the Informatica introduction perspective, right? Or is there anything else you want to
Yeah,
cover as of now?
from our side, I think I covered the basic introduction overview of the tool and the data warehouse overview. As it's introductory class, I haven't gone to the
Right.
details of each component, but during your classroom trainings, we'll be going more detail of each and every topic.
That is right. The purpose of this session is
Yeah,
to just familiarize
just give
this.
overview. Yeah.
That's
Mm.
yeah. So, in case you have any queries during the training program, after the training program, you can drop us a mail. You can call us. You can also share your comments over our Facebook profile, and definitely our tech team will assist you. So that also is included along with this training program. Okay, so I think that's all from my side, as well as